Question number 33 on the Math 086 final review states 1/5 squared plus 4/5 divided by 1 1/3. And that's what we're looking to solve, is this equation. The first thing I want to do is I want to change 1 1/3, which is a mixed fraction, into an improper fraction. So 1 1/3, remember, to change a mixed fraction to improper fraction, you multiply the whole number by the denominator, then you add the numerator, right? And then you keep the denominator the same. So 1 times 3 is 3, right? Then you add 1, that becomes 4. So the answer now becomes 4/3 as your improper fraction, okay? Now let's look to this side. 1/5 squared. That simply means 1/5 times 1/5. It just means 1/5 times itself, okay? So we're going to do 1/5, okay, times 1/5. That's what it means, okay? And we're going to bring down 4/5 because there's nothing that we have to do to that. There's nothing we have to change with that. So now we look at 1/5 times 1/5. Remember, we always want to work order of operations, right? So you always want to do parentheses, then exponents, multiplication, division, addition, then subtraction, okay? So this is the way we're working. So this is exponents, okay? So 1/5 times 1/5. And we're simply just multiplying across, okay? So 1 times 1 gives us 1. And 5 times 5 is 25, okay? Now, since we've done 1/25, I'm going to do plus 4/5 divided by 4/3. And because remember order of operations, our next step would be to do 4/5 divided by 4/3, okay? So because of order of operations, we always want to work, remember, parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. If you can't remember this formula, remember, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. And it means basically the same thing, okay? So once again, 1/125 plus 4/5 divided by 4/3. And because of order of operations, we're going to do 4/5 divided by 4/3. Remember, when dealing with fractions, when it comes to division, you're not dividing, you're really multiplying by the reciprocal. So we're basically going to take 4/5 and multiply it by 3/4. And looking at this, I see that I have our numerator and denominator that are across from each other have something in common. 4 and 4 have 4 in common. They can both be reduced by 4, okay? So if we divide or reduce by 4, if you divide 4 by 4, you get 1. And you have to do the same thing in the numerator here. 4 divided by 4 will give you 1. So our final answer is actually going to be 3/5. So we're going to take 3/5 and we're going to add it to 1/25. So now we have 3/5 and we're going to add it to 1/25 plus 3/5. Now when we're adding, our denominators are going to have to match. So we need the least common denominator of both 25 and 5. I know that 25 is a factor of 5. If you didn't know that, you could just I would take the smallest denominator and then I would factor that out, okay, first. Because this one is higher. So if we find a factor that's closer to 5 and 25, you don't have to worry about factoring 25. But if we did factors of 5, it would be 5. Then another factor would be 10. The next one is 15, 20. Then the next factor is 25. And what I'm simply doing is I'm taking multiples of 5. 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 3 is 15. 5 times 4 is 20. And 5 times 5 is 25. And then so forth. But now that I know that 5 times 5 is 25, I see that, our denominator is already 25 in the other fraction. So I'm simply going to convert 3/5 to a number over 25. So I'm going to take 3/5 equals I'm going to put 25 in the denominator. One way you can do this, if you don't know, like the way I'm going to show you is I'm going to do, to get from 5 to 25, you multiply the denominator times 5, okay? To get from 5 to 25, you multiply the denominator times 5, and you can multiply the numerator times 5 as well. 3 times 5 will give you 15. And whatever you do in the denominator, you must do the numerator, or vice versa, to get an equivalent fraction. That's all we're simply doing. So now we have 15 over 25. So we're going to add 1 over 25 plus 15 over 25. Our final answer is 16 over 25. When you're adding, you simply add the two numerators. You add 1 and the 15. The denominator always stays the same in addition with fractions. So the final answer would be 16 over 25, and you can't reduce it anymore.